like that. I would have a soundtrack like this. My name is Matthew Monahan. I was born in Eureka, California in 1972, April 29th. Well, I guess lately I've been described as a sculptor, but I don't really see myself that way. It just brings there's a brawniness about the word that I don't really identify with, and sort of I don't think I'm actually that good with space. I tend to, because I'm so in pursuit of the image, and certainly the way sculpture is received now is sculpture is sort of, it's kind of an anti-image. It's kind of it's always searching for a kind of a gravity. And, certainly the revolution in modern sculpture was to eliminate the image, remind us about gravity and flatness and planes, and I'm kind of beginning from this, like beginning as drawing, you're on a white page and things begin as floating. They float, and then they slowly have to take on form and the illusion of mass. You conjure the image by drawing, you give it weight, whereas I still feel that basically the sculptures are just like really deep drawings that you just have worked, and they're slowly becoming paintings as I get involved with more color. I give little consideration to the back of pieces, and that's like the first rule of sculpture, is that you're in a way you're moving about the object, and I tend to just dig the image. It just erodes into the surface and becomes a sculpture, becomes relief, and becomes sculpture in that way. So when I have to say what I'm doing, I say my flat line is I make figures. I make these figures, and sometimes they're drawings, sometimes they're sculptures, sometimes printmaking. So and I make imaginary figures. There's no model. They're based on no model, no photographs, no models, no mannequins, no casts. No, and that to go from that kind of again, it's about the action of conjuring and building an image, as opposed to recycling or trying to re-enliven something that's already out there. I start with a big block, and I usually start with the tip of the nose because it sticks out the farthest, usually. And then it goes from there, and it's I use foam. I sculpt things with paper and foam, generally very lightweight materials, just because it's initially I was working on a drawing so much that the paper started to kind of bubble and fold, and I started erasing so much that there were holes. So the paper then becomes a three-dimensional object. You bring out the sculptural qualities of the paper, and then it begins to fold and crinkle, and then they became crumpled heads. And around this was the early 90s. This was beginning with my kind of return to drawing. And then I discovered this foam, floral foam, which is incredibly soft, and it's almost like just condensed paper, basically condensed dust, and you just kind of, it's so fast, it's so easy to sculpt with. So I needed something fast, and slowly but I'm so much about applying. I always apply way too much pressure as a draftsman too. I press too hard. One of the things you always learn as a draftsman is to lighten the touch. I never seem to. There's always a great deal of pressure. And there's offshoots into printmaking because I press so hard, and there's offshoots into, then it becomes, the relief develops out of excessive pressure, and foam is a great receptor to pressure. You can use all kinds of tools. So but recently now I'm using this large polyurethane blocks that are, I use saws and shavers. So it's a shaver, so in a way it's like a wide, it's a bit like a wide blade turned on its side, and I'm doing this for hours, and then things, Art just seemed a place where I could sort of put together all my various interests in one place, and it seemed to be a place where you could still you could still study something and really create and really find out as you went along what exactly you were going to study. That is in a way how it began academically. It seemed like a place where anything was possible, any pursuit, any interest I had I could pursue. And then it just, things just kept unfolding from that point. And it took me a while to actually say, I guess the embarrassment of declaring yourself an artist, takes a while to get over that. And but I think I'm over that. I can tell I declare it to the IRS every year, so the embarrassment's definitely over by now. My education, formal education in art began at Cooper Union, and then I continued on to Amsterdam for a brief, let me see here, exchange program at the Garrett Rietveld Academy for 6 months, and then I went back to New York, finished my degree at Cooper, and went back to Amsterdam to study at the ateliers in Amsterdam, which is a 2-year residency that doesn't give out degrees, but it's equivalent to a graduate kind of school. I was excited to be invited to the Carnegie-International. Yeah, I'd heard about it, but had never been to Pittsburgh, and the list of artists was a pretty exciting company to be in. So I was delighted. When I heard the title "Life on Mars," I thought of the David Bowie song. But in my mind, I had mixed it up with another song, with 5 years. And I went and re-listened to it again, and it was much more optimistic than I remembered. I've been in quite a few shows that seem to refer to Martians or extraterrestrials, or angels, or devils. So there's often a mythological, I seem to be invited into the mythological kind of, or in this case extraterrestrial, which I think is a mythology, the extraterrestrial desire or system.